All right, today we're going to perform an autopsy, but not on a body, we're doing it on an idea, the idea of corruption. We usually think about it in terms of laws, money, power, pretty straightforward stuff. But what if we looked at it as something that literally hollows out a person, and then an entire society from the inside out? So let's begin the examination. The source material for this explainer, from Jonathan C. Blaine, kicks things off with this incredibly provocative question. And right away, this just completely reframes the whole conversation. Suddenly, we're not just talking about politics or economics anymore. This is about what it means to be a person, to have integrity, and maybe more importantly, what's actually left of you when all of that is gone. And the answer the source gives, well, it's pretty chilling. What's left isn't some better, more successful version of you. It's just a shadow, a self that's been stripped bare of conviction and integrity. And that's really where this whole story has to begin. Not with some public crime, but with a quiet, personal tragedy. Which brings us right to our first section. See, before corruption can ever rot a system from the outside, it has to take root inside a person first. It all begins with a choice. Think of it like this internal battle, right? On one side, you've got your conscience, guided by integrity and a sense of meaning. On the other side, you've got calculation. It's that little voice whispering all those rationalizations like, come on, everyone else is doing it. And this isn't some big, dramatic, single event. It's a series of 1,000 tiny compromises. Each little excuse is a trade-off, and you're just chipping away at your own standards until one day, there's nothing left. But here's the thing about this kind of internal decay. It almost never stays contained within one person. It's like a virus. It needs to spread. So let's take a look at how that one personal choice starts to infect an entire system. The source uses a really powerful word for this process, metastasis, like cancer. It all starts with that single individual compromise we just talked about. But then it ripples outward. A regulator looks the other way. A judge takes a bribe. Every single one of those acts, no matter how small it seems, distorts the rule of law. And pretty soon, honest people, regular citizens, businesses, they start to lose faith. They start asking, why should I bother playing by the rules if the whole game is rigged? And boom, that's it. That is how the entire system gets infected. And this right here, this gets to the heart of the ultimate price we all pay. We're talking about the social contract. That basic unspoken agreement that we're all in this together, that the government is supposed to work for the people. Well, corruption just quietly fractures it. What was once a shared promise becomes a system run on suspicion, where everyone is just trying to extract what they can for themselves. And let's be really clear, this isn't some abstract philosophical problem. This has devastating real-world consequences. When the money that's meant for schools, for hospitals, for basic infrastructure gets siphoned off by the powerful, it's always the most vulnerable communities, the people who need those services the most, who end up bearing the true cost. So what does this look like at the macro level? What happens when this infection has completely taken over the machinery of government? Well, you get a system without a soul. Just look at how this plays out across the board. Every single pillar of a healthy society gets twisted. Governance isn't about public service anymore. It becomes an engine for private gain. Public authority gets weaponized against the common good. The rule of law is distorted. Collective trust just evaporates. And eventually, the whole system's legitimacy crumbles until it's nothing but an empty shell. Now, here's the really chilling part. On the surface, this empty shell can still look like it's working. The offices are open. The paperwork gets filed. The meetings happen. It can go through all the motions. It's perfectly capable of what you'd call technical compliance. But it is completely and utterly incapable of its true purpose, delivering genuine justice or any real accountability. It's just a hollow husk, a machine with no moral core, just going through the motions. Okay, so if the machine is broken, the obvious solution is just to fix it, right? Pass more laws, create more reforms, add more oversight. But the source material argues that the problem, well, it runs much, much deeper than that. This is maybe the most important insight of this whole explainer. You can design the most perfect anti-corruption laws in the world, with all the checks and balances you can imagine, but they are absolutely doomed to fail if the underlying public morality, that collective sense of right and wrong, is gone. The best reforms will just be ignored or twisted by a system that has no soul. So if technical fixes aren't enough, what is? How does a society actually recover from something this deep? The answer, according to our source, is that you have to rebuild everything from the ground up, on new moral foundations.
And these are those foundations. It has to start with a renewed ethic, a collective decision to reclaim integrity. It means actively cultivating virtue, creating a culture where honesty is actually rewarded, not punished. It means restoring meaning and dignity to the idea of public service. And, crucially, it demands immense civic courage from people who are willing to fight the tide.
And then there's this last, most profound step. Before you can build something new, you have to have the courage to confront what happened, to face the complicity head on, and to truly mourn what was lost in the process. It's without a doubt the hardest step, but it's the only way to genuinely move forward. Which leaves us with this final question. It takes everything we've just talked about and turns it right back to us. It's not just a question for a government or a nation, but for every single one of us. Can we do it? Can we face the damage and make the choice to build something better?
The source ends with a simple but incredibly powerful command. Hold the line.